Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is the first of, just a collection of videos that I want to make. Mini documentaries. I've been wanting to make these for a while, but haven't, found the window to do it. But I have now, and I've been working on this for the past week or so, and I'm finally ready to present it. This is, kind of an opinion piece, also not. And I think that as a member of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign staff said, I'm going to attempt to explain how she lost the 2016 presidential election. And that campaign staffer said, anyone who attempts to explain Hillary Clinton's 2016 loss is right. She lost by so few votes spread across a couple states that every one of these reasons that I'm about to say influenced one voter at least. Heading into Election Day, most people thought Hillary Clinton would be the next president of the United States, including myself. The New York Times gave Hillary Clinton an 85% chance of winning. These are the top 4 news headlines that I found from 2016 that really showed how confident everyone was that Hillary Clinton would be the next president of the United States. Just read them. Literally all of them suggest that this is a done deal. Another one that I didn't put in here said that Hillary Clinton's win in 2016 is already a done deal. The exact phrasing they used. And it wasn't looking too good for Donald Trump. Many key Republicans, including former President George W. Bush, his brother Jeb Bush, former presidential candidate Carly Fiorina, and former presidential candidates Carly Fiorina and John Kasich, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Dean Heller, former Secretary of State Colin Powell, Senator John McCain, and popular Governor Brian Sandoval, and the previous election's nominee, Governor Mitt Romney. But that didn't matter come Election Day. Nothing that I just told you mattered. But what did matter were these 5 things. And these 5 things cost Hillary Clinton dearly. Now, to be frank, I'm going to be honest here. I'm a big fan of Hillary Clinton. And before you sling at me in the comments, let me explain. Hillary Clinton her whole life has been dedicated to public service. She has a record of getting things done. I think she would have made a fine president, and I was pretty upset that she lost. So I'm not a huge Trump fan, and I wasn't in 2016, but I did feel the need to make this documentary to let people know how she lost. And this is also part of the reason I think Joe Biden is going to win in 2020. Number 5, Donald Trump and his campaign tactics. Donald Trump is a complete idiot and joke, you say. No, I say this to a lot of people. Donald Trump is either one of 2 things. He's a complete idiot and joke, or he is a mastermind when it comes to politics. You decide. Donald Trump ran a genius campaign, to be honest. I mean, literally. Look at this chart. This chart shows the odds to be the GOP nominee. And at the start, in July of 2015, or even before that, Donald Trump was in the single digits for the GOP nominee. People like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio were the favorites. But this all changed after Donald Trump's debate performances. In fact, the first debate was in August, and that's when Trump started surging. Sure, he was overtaken for a tiny bit of time by a certain Ben Carson, but really he was the favorite starting in the middle of 2015. He then took it away. Sure, Ted Cruz came close a few times, and John Kasich had his occasional, good moments, but it was really all about Trump. In fact, Kasich and Cruz had to team up to try to stop Trump, but their efforts were too futile to be able to beat him. Even though the whole party establishment was against Donald Trump, he was still able to win. Why? Because he had the support of the people. You see, Donald Trump ran essentially a campaign against the establishment, whether it be the Democratic establishment in November or the GOP establishment during the primaries. He made people like Jeb Bush and John Kasich look corrupt, even though maybe they weren't. In fact, Ted Cruz, who wasn't even part of the establishment, he made him look like he was very untrustworthy, branding him as Lying Ted. This really goes to show how much both Donald Trump ran such a good campaign, and how the GOP establishment didn't really know how to defend themselves. In fact, as you can see, the early favorite, Jeb Bush, really got hurt in the debates against Donald Trump, or Trump branded him as weak, corrupt, or even just not smart enough to be president. Jeb Bush didn't know how to reply. And I'm going to talk about Donald Trump's debate performances. In the Republican primaries, he was attacked from all angles, whether it be Marco Rubio trying to brand him as hot-headed, Carly Fiorina making fun of him, or just generally the strong attacks from Rand Paul. And even though Paul, was not really a strong candidate and didn't really come close to getting the nomination, he was still a strong debater. Trump was able to repel these attacks and go on the offense most times. He made up nicknames for people, like Lying Ted, as I already mentioned. He also called Marco Rubio a choke artist, so that didn't help the Rubio campaign. And the anti-establishment wave kind of kicked in for Trump after the first few debates. He really had an awesome sense of what people wanted to hear, and when they wanted to hear it. His base was known as the silent majority throughout the primaries, and that carried on until the election. In fact, I would argue that it's not really a silent majority, but they hadn't been super enthusiastic about a candidate since 2010 with all those Tea Party people. Well, they found their mouth. It was Donald Trump, and they came out in huge numbers for him. The fourth reason is campaign tactics from both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton's message of Stronger Together resonated with a lot of people, including myself, but it didn't resonate with people who were fed up with the establishment. And Make America Great Again took them back to a time where the middle class ruled the country in the 40s and 50s. Hillary Clinton's message of Stronger Together wasn't horrible, but it just didn't compare to the whole Make America Great Again rhetoric. This did actually help Hillary Clinton with minorities, but in the Rust Belt, it absolutely devastated her. Hillary Clinton also made some controversial remarks at times. In fact, she said that you could put half of Donald Trump's supporters into what she calls the basket of deplorables, essentially saying that they're racist, sexist, xenophobic, and so on. This distanced her from Trump's supporters and really eliminated any hope of her getting those voters back. It was a really bad saying, and even she admits that she regrets saying it. The third reason is James Comey. And I'm not trying to bring a single person into here, but James Comey effectively ruined Hillary Clinton's campaign. Despite all this, she still had high poll numbers in October, but then came the October surprise. James Comey sent a letter that essentially said we're reopening our investigation into the Hillary Clinton email scandal, even though Hillary Clinton did nothing wrong other than send an email from another account, which, by the way, Colin Powell did, and no one talks about that. And Donald Trump does the same thing, and he's president. So, it's not that big of a deal, right? Well, Donald Trump really knew how to control the press and what they were talking about, and he used fake news to his advantage. So, people were talking about how James Comey sent a letter just talking about how he needed to reopen the investigation into Hillary's emails 10 days before the election. This dropped Hillary Clinton's polling numbers significantly, and paved the way for a Trump comeback. And by the way, they closed the investigation for a second time 2 days before the election, but no one seemed to talk about that because of the way Trump dominated the news. So, yeah. The second reason is Bernie Sanders. And again, I'm naming an individual person for only the second time today. And this will be the last time I mention a single person. Maybe. You see, Bernie Sanders actually was very popular with a lot of voters. In fact, I think he could have won the primary easily. He just didn't gain enough support, and he lost some very winnable primaries, such as the Iowa caucus, which really damaged his momentum. Picture this. Imagine Bernie Sanders. He won a landslide in New Hampshire, but imagine him eking out that win in Iowa. That would have stopped Hillary Clinton's momentum going into the Nevada caucus, and she probably wouldn't have done as well there. So that's worth noting. And, Bernie Sanders, I do think that he probably would have beat Trump in 2016 just because the Democrats were in such a good position, but you never know. We're not talking about Bernie. Well, as of right now we are, but this isn't a Bernie documentary. Bernie Sanders, really, Hillary Clinton, from the dawn of time, she seemed destined to be the party's nominee in 2016. Yet, the fact that she had a tough time even getting the nomination really said a lot, because Hillary Clinton, she was so popular among Democrats that it really seemed like she was just going to win every single primary, like an incumbent president. Bernie Sanders, however, challenged her on a ton of issues and branded her as corrupt, and he ran a pretty nasty campaign against her. Sure, she ended up beating Sanders, but it was closer than everyone expected it to be, and there were a lot of Bernie or bust voters. So that didn't help Hillary at all. She had lost a ton, millions even, of voters who would have voted for her had Bernie Sanders not run for president. And, as if things couldn't get any worse, in July, WikiLeaks leaked that some emails from the Democratic National Committee trying to essentially cheat Bernie Sanders out of the nomination, and had this not occurred, Bernie probably wouldn't have won the nomination, but it still wasn't fair to him. This angered his supporters even more. It made Hillary Clinton look corrupt. And the number one reason that Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 presidential election is she is named Hillary Clinton. Let's just talk about Hillary Clinton first, before we talk about emails. Hillary Clinton has nothing going for her. Sure, she generated a lot of excitement with a lot of young female voters, and specifically Latinos and Latinas, but that really didn't help her at all. Sure, it gave her a victory in Nevada, but it didn't help her in the Rust Belt. And we also have to mention that Hillary Clinton has been attacked on both sides. In fact, during her tenure as First Lady in the 1990s under Bill Clinton, people said that she was too liberal because she was fighting for health care for all. People said she was not a stay-at-home mom, and that made her appear to be too progressive. But yet in 2016, Bernie Sanders made her look like a corrupt centrist. So that was what really, really hurt her. That kind of erased that whole Hillary is change type of thing. And it made Bernie the change underdog candidate, not Hillary. The email scandal was a big thing because people weren't educated about it. And when Trump talked about it, he made it seem like a big deal, even though it really wasn't. So that hurt her. She also had no appeal to the Rust Belt. Literally, she only campaigned in Wisconsin once, and that was in April of 2016. April. That's literally 7 months away from the election. It was a horrible campaign she ran, especially in these states. And yeah, she ran TV ads, but that didn't do much for her. As Trump campaigned there a ton. In fact, Ron Johnson and Scott Walker crisscrossed the state of Wisconsin campaigning for Trump. His whole message was built to these voters, and he ended up winning those states barely, costing Hillary Clinton the election. And of course, Hillary Clinton was branded by Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders as part of the establishment. She literally could not get away with anything. Donald Trump, there was a tape released of him saying lewd remarks about women, and yet no one talked about it. It didn't cost him in the polls. Whereas when Hillary Clinton, sent an email from a private server, that cost her the election. That's because she was part of the establishment, and people just were sick. They wanted change, and Trump ran as the change candidate. That's why Bernie did so well in the primaries, and that's why Trump did so well in the general election, especially in states that have a lot of middle class voters. So, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the mini documentary. I'm trying to make it, around 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. But yeah, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.